development to mainnet. Let's hear it for Brenda.
Oh, sorry. Well, hi everybody. My name is Brenda. I'm a co-founder of Teller, and I'm a technical co-founder. And at the beginning, it was just like three of us, right? It's just me and my two co-founders, and it was super easy to actually develop because basically we went from one person coding and to the other person coding, and it was easy to just manage. As we grew, some things became harder. As we incorporated more developers, it was just harder to actually keep up like with the progress of the projects and also making sure that nobody was overriding each other's PRs. So that's how we came up with this checklist that we now use to make sure that we basically, what do you say? Make sure that we actually take things to production in a professional way, and hopefully we don't get hacked. This checklist has continued to evolve as we have continued to evolve and continue to put projects out there, mainly because we have gotten a few white hat hacks that were reported to us, and then we would go back and we make sure that make things a little bit tighter and better. So that's how we ended up with this checklist. And basically it goes back to just going to the basics. There's a lot of different disciplines that came into crypto, and we end up all like developing different things. But there's a lot of traditional processes that we can actually incorporate to make things better. And this is basically what I'm going to go through with you guys. It's just basically common sense to us now. You start with any project, you start with design and brainstorming, maybe even a white paper, and then finally going to development. One of the things that we have incorporated into our development process is different types of testings. For our local suite, we generally do two types of testing. Every function, basically we go through every function and every require statement, and we write a test for it, and we list it out, and we make sure that we go through that. And then we do another type of test, which is just end-to-end testing, where we actually go and try to come up with scenarios of how our users will interact with our contracts, and then go through very lengthy tests to try and make sure that we don't break anything or that they don't break anything eventually. After that, obviously, we just go straight to testnet, and generally we put our contracts out there for about a week or two before we actually go to mainnet. And right before going to mainnet, we also define some specific tests that we do after we actually go to mainnet, just to make sure that your contract works and that everything is in place. One thing that happened to us a while ago is that if you use a suite to actually verify your contract straight into Etherscan, we didn't know this, but even if one of your contracts actually matches the bytecode, it can actually publish the entire code that you submitted for verification, even though only a portion of it is actually in the bytecode or was actually deployed. And we found this bug actually the hard way. But after that, one of the things that we always do is right after mainnet, we actually always verify our bytecode, and we have two people clone the repository, two people compile it separately. One of them goes to mainnet, and then we actually go and look at the bytecode and compare it and make sure that what we intended to deploy was actually deployed. And that step has really although it seems like such an easy thing to do, it has really, really improved our processes. The checklist, I don't know if I have any developers in the room. You have a developer? Okay. I'm happy to share the checklist. It's pretty lengthy. I think it would be a little too boring to go through it. I had planned to go through that live, but being that I just have one developer, I'm happy to share it. One of the things that you'll notice on it is that we actually do a lot of these checks manually. There's a lot of tools out there that you can actually use to test whether or not you have full testing coverage of your contract. But we actually do this manually because it really helps you internalize your contracts, making sure that you actually go through the game theory of it and actually like make it more secure. And it is a very boring process. We actually list out every function. We count every required statement, and then we actually go and actually write a test for everything. And one of the advantages of that too is that it makes your audit process a lot easier, I like to think, and hopefully cheaper, just because, we deal with so much value in crypto. I hope you guys are getting audits for your contracts. But it just makes it, and they're so expensive. They're so expensive, and you want to make sure that when you're building your protocol, that you're actually commenting your code, that you're making it way easier for your auditors to actually go through it and hopefully get a cheaper price eventually, or reflect it eventually. I already went through the deployment process, but one of the things that I just like to tell you guys, there is no perfect code, and just put it out there, and the best code is actually the code that actually gets used. This checklist, within the last year, we've actually put out like 9 different projects with about 4 different developers. It just makes sure that you get to your end product and put it out there, and maybe if find market fit, and if you don't find market fit, then tweak it again and redeploy, and you just make sure that you meet your deadlines. One of the things that we do is like, you can think about your project forever, but if you give yourself a deadline, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be okay, and then you can optimize later. You can always redeploy. Just make sure that you put it out there. That's it for me. If you guys have any questions, or if you would like the checklist, I'm happy to share with you. Oops.
All right, we have about 10 minutes if anyone has questions.